A Yale student, A class from high school to Columbia University. Usually in America, all I hear is that black people are either musicians, baseball, basketball, you know, those kind of things, actors, actresses, but he was a graduate in sociology. Like, how was the parents like at that time for you? AKINTUNDE, like, were they strict?
Nah, my parents, I wouldn't necessarily say they were strict. So my mom, she, for most of my life, she was a school teacher, a public elementary school in my hometown of Oakland. And my dad was an auto mechanic. And so around the time I got to high school, my mom actually became a principal of her elementary school as well. And so I just think we valued education from a young age. Like, she was a kindergarten teacher, and she was my kindergarten teacher also. So my first like educational experience came from her. And I just think, you know, they instilled the groundwork at an early age so that as we got older, it would be easier. And that's kind of how I viewed it. But wasn't necessarily the strictness that was like a motivation, because they did let us, I don't want to say do what we wanted, but there was room to explore, find out things on our own, but they definitely laid a very, very solid groundwork for me.
So how was it growing up in the area that you lived? How was it like?
So Oakland, California, I mean, is known for a lot of different things, but I mean, if you were to watch the news and see the media that's talking about Oakland, you would probably see a lot of things that have to do with a failing school system that's underfunded, heavily policed, high rates of violence, all these kinds of things. And so growing up, you just have to learn how to navigate these things. I mean, me going to all public schools from the time I started to the time I graduated in senior year, it was, you get exposed to all of this. I mean, being actually from within the city, you're exposed to all of these things as well. And so, but that's also a motivation to want like a lot more out of life.
So why sociology?
You know, it was just what caught my interest. I wanted to go to college for something that I knew I was sincerely interested in. And so, in thinking about social inequalities, in economics and how that overlaps with race and justice, sociology was just that umbrella major in study that I was like, okay, these are things that I know about from experience, but haven't really did a deep dive into learning the history behind them, learning about social theories, all those kinds of things. And so just went with what my interest was. I didn't go in thinking sociology. If you look at old interviews when I was in high school or something, I was like, I think I might want to go pre-med or pre-law. Needless to say, did neither. So I just went in kind of like, let's see. And
let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
So your dad is Nigerian?
My dad is, so.
How'd you get the AKINTUNDE?
Right. So I have a Yoruba name because my parents were really very involved in like the Pan-Africanist movement. So my dad is actually originally from Texarkana, Texas, and my mom is born and raised in Oakland. But my dad moved to the Bay Area in his early teens and was also raised there. And so as they got older, they just had a really strong attraction to the continent. And so prior to becoming a school teacher, my mom actually was a professional West African dancer. And it's called Ballet Saba. So it was West African some from Senegal, from Mali, from different places. And so like she even toured with like Stevie Wonder when she was younger and dancing. And so got really involved in the culture. And when she named her kids, we all have
all of you.
So my sister, so Amina. I have a brother named Allende, another Yoruba name, a brother named Azim, and then I'm the youngest, AKINTUNDE. And then I have two older brothers who were born prior to this, so they have more American names, Keon and Roderick, and so, but I'm the youngest out of 6.
So you're the special one, you're the one that's loved the most. You last borns, take all the shine.
Hey, that's what they say, right?
So, you know, knowing that your dad had given you all basically African names, did that attract you to the continent and want to know more? When was the first time you stepped foot onto the African soil?
So in 2016 actually was my first time. So when I was a student at Yale, I was able to do a program where I studied at the University of Ghana it was a semester, so it was like a little over 5 months that I was out here. And so I saw the program and I was like, I'm not going to be missing anything at Yale going on. I have this is where I'm spending all this time, and I really, really had been having a strong desire to come, and I'd just never been granted the opportunity. And so I was like, opportunity's here, so now it's on me. And so just did a program that enrolled me in the university here, and just came in with an open mind.
You opened your eyes. What did you actually see? Because a lot of people say, you know what, I came, my eyes opened, I saw what I needed to see to encourage me to actually come back. What did you see?
So I think for a lot of Black Americans specifically, when they come to Ghana, they don't come for a long enough time to fully understand how they would fit in to the culture here and really learn and kind of like sit in it and really learn how to navigate and learn just how to blend in and become part of it. And so a lot of times, people go all the spots. Of course, they go to Cape Coast and Elmina and do the experience of the Door of Last Return, or Door of No Return, and then they maybe go to Kumasi and go learn about kente weaving and shea butter, different things like that. But a lot of times they don't do enough just mingling with everyday folks and understanding just different parts of the culture outside of like tourist attractions and things like that. And so for me, I just learned how much innovation is here, how much growth is going on here, how welcoming people are, and just me, like my spirit, like how I feel when I'm here is very much, it just feels right. I guess that's the best way to say it. It's something that you kind of do have to experience. It's harder to put in words, but I mean, in terms of one of the things that like I really saw out here, it was really about how much opportunity there is for more synergy between Black people in the States and Black folks who are here. And so that's kind of the mentality that I had coming in, because I was like, a lot of times people don't really know. And so that's like, in sharing my experiences with folks back home and how I ran my social media and just different parts of society that I was showing, you just kind of, a lot of people don't have any kind of perspective. And if you rely on American media to educate you on any country in Africa, but and knowing what I know about Ghana and just seeing what I consumed from American news prior to coming here, it's like, and that's why shows like yours are so important. Like I tell people all the time, like, you should watch the Dentist Show to learn more about what's really going on, learn about business and opportunity, learn about culture, learn about industry, and learn about just the synergy that we all have because
no, you're right. I think what I've seen now is that a lot of African Americans, I don't know whether it's Black Panther kind of opened their eyes, this Wakanda kind of opened their eyes that, there's something in Africa.
I mean, for me, it was really just something that was a cultural celebration and trying to bridge those gaps, but in a way that, it's still entertainment, but I think that they were aware that they could reach a much larger audience through this style and just incorporating a lot of different people, just in terms of people they worked with in music, the people they worked with in design, for costumes, all of that. That's what really made me like it even more about the imagery and things. They just started asking more questions like, you've been out there, right? You was out there for a while. Questions that I wouldn't normally get before, and then I'm able to like, some of the naive questions that people may ask about things, and it's just like,
the lions, are we playing with the monkeys and
right,
stuff?
all of that type of stuff, or like,
still in this age?
In this age, people still think very like, when I post on my story, like anything, if I was at like Kempinski and I post on my story, or when I post here every day, people I literally get DMs and responses just saying, I didn't know it was like that out there. And I'm like, hey, that's the American media for you, because they really don't have much more perspective.
We've got Superman, Batman, but to have a Black Panther that was an image of me and you, I think that was very powerful for the young generation, especially what's happening in America where Black people are getting gunned down. And for that Black little boy to look and say, you know what, I'm like Black Panther.
I don't know how familiar you are with the doll studies that had the youth, they had toddlers, 3, 4, 5 years old, look at 5 different dolls that went from lightest to darkest. And they would ask them a range of questions saying, which doll looks like you, which doll looks like your mom. And this was a range of students, but they really focused on young black kids. And then when they asked the question, which doll is the nice one, and they pointed to the lightest skin one, or which doll is the smart one, and they pointed to that, and then they asked the question, but you're smart, aren't you? So why didn't you? And it's just showing how at such a young age, we're saying 3, 4, 5 years old, in the States, you are so indoctrinated to think that this is the way in everything, in every movie that you watch, this is the superhero. So the imagery behind Black Panther definitely is what's so important for youth, like you said, because it's like, before you don't even have anybody the villain is always the dark side. The villain is always in everything. And so to have just a Black Panther and it's like meaning, and B, the relation of fusing that gap between the continent and the States and having it take place, even though it's just a little bit in the States, but still having that bridge between there, I think was very important too, because it goes a long way. Like a lot of times people don't understand norms and like what is set at the norms. When you're not in control of those, you don't understand how over time it can really affect your self-esteem, your sense of self-worth. And those studies are just what immediately popped into mind when you said it, but there's so many other things that go beyond that. But I think that's just like the best example to really put into context how influential that movie is in changing those stereotypes.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we're going to go for a short commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about fashion. This man is big time into fashion and also does production as well. So as I'm filming, he's like, the camera work. I know he's talking about the lights. He's just looking and he's just like analyzing everything. We'll be back after the commercial break.
Imperial Homes Ghana in Great Britain has carved a niche for itself within the real estate industry as the premier provider of luxury homes in Ghana and England, with a mission to provide safe, good value, modern housing and personalized estate management services to its clients and customers. All our homes meet the Lifetime Home Standard, as well as the highest standards of engineering excellence, safety, environmental sustainability, and cost efficiency. Imperial Homes, a signature of luxury.
Guba Card welcomes you to the land of gold, Ghana. The Guba Card is a unique loyalty card which gives you the opportunity to enjoy discounts of up to 40% on goods and services. You enjoy discounts of the best of hotels, amazing restaurants, beauty lounges, spas, health centers, fashion houses, and shopping centers in Ghana. The Guba card can also be used as a prepaid Visa card with Access Bank, our partners, offering you conveniences on all payment platforms. Applications is safe, secure, and valuable.
Call us or WhatsApp us on 0245 156 705.
Visit www.gubadiaspora.com. Guba Card, the best discount card in Ghana.
With over 1.2 billion people, Africa is a large continent with a rapid economic growth, full of investment and business opportunities. It hosts numerous opportunities for entrepreneurs, businesses, and individuals. As Africa marches towards a better economic future, how do you become part of it? Who can you safely speak to? Where do you start? Think no further. ODANA connects. We have identified the challenges people face in getting the right people and discovering the right opportunities in Africa. ODANA Connects will be the platform where people and businesses seeking opportunities in Africa meet and connect like never before. ODANA Connect. Join our waitlist for early access this summer at www.odanaconnect.com.
I'm still with AKINTUNDE, and now I want to find out about this fashion house that you're doing right here in Ghana. Tell us about the business.
I guess the idea really began when I was way younger. So my mom as I mentioned, was very heavy into West African dance,
Yeah.
very heavy just into showcasing the culture of the continent, but specifically West Africa.
Did they ever do their DNA?
We did.
Okay.
So coincidentally, this was long after I was named,
Okay.
but like the majority actually trace back to being Yoruba Nigerian, which is just coincidental.
Wow.
That's just what my name happened to be.
Okay.
But there was also a significant amount in Ghana as
Okay.
well.
We'll take the Ghana side. You're Ghanaian.
So, hey. But yeah, so when just growing up, like my mom, she doesn't just wear like West African fabrics because she's in Ghana right now. Like if you ask anybody about my mom for decades and decades, like if you Google the pictures of her teaching and you see her in her classroom, she's always in
Wow.
West African fabrics, whether that be wax prints, whether it be actual woven kente, whether it be mudcloth from Mali, like that's just how she dressed. And so I was used to seeing these patterns. And when we were younger, like we always had different caps and sets, different things like that, but I never really got super into it until I got out here. And so while I was a student at the university, you know, part of it is of course studying, learning about African history from an African perspective, learning about Ghanaian history from a Ghanaian perspective, everything. But I really got interested in just industries out here, and fashion was one of them. And so what a lot of folks in the States probably don't know is how everyone out here gets things custom made. Everything is like tailor made. Like it's not like, you know, everybody is getting their sizes
measured,
things custom fitted, and that is such an industry that is booming and that is so easily and readily accessible. Like you couldn't think of affordably getting custom made outfits in the States anywhere. Like that's not even a concept. And so out here, it just made it so I could like experiment. So I'm here for 5 months, and so I'm just experimenting. I'm getting different items made. I'm playing around with different fabrics, and I just had a kind of background about fabrics from growing up and just having a mom who was involved in them. And so when I took those fabrics back to the States and I just started wearing things in different contexts, I started getting a lot of questions from a lot of people. You know, I would wear them to conferences in college when we have large conferences with other places, and people would always say, where'd you get that? And when I told them they made it, they were like, I want something like that. You can make something like that for me. And I was like, I guess so. I mean, I was like, I know the people here. I still am in contact with tailors, and I was just wondering how to best go about that. And so, granted, I was still full-time student, still having on-campus jobs and different things, so I didn't really have the capability and opportunity to start this really until like the start of 2020 last year.
Oh wow.
And so what ended up happening was I have a friend named Orama, and Orama, but we call her B or Beatrice sometimes as well. And she runs Threaded Tribes. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Threaded Tribes, but they use a lot of mudcloth and bogolanfini, and then they use a lot of fugu as well.
Butter curry.
And smock fabric and everything. And she makes different types of like cloaks and dresses. Originally, she was focused on like women's wear and unisex stuff, and now she's going into other industries. And so I knew some tailors out here, but I knew she was getting things done in like a factory setting, and I was wondering if they wanted to expand their factory and like take on another brand, because one of the things that I wanted to do was make sure that everything was made on the continent and in Ghana.
Wow.
And so a lot of people, you know, you can get stuff made in China, you could get stuff made in Pakistan, all of these different places, but for me, it's about investing in yourself, in your own people, and that's what it was. And then same thing with the fabrics. I was like, there are some wax prints that are made in Ghana, there is some batik that's made here, but then there are other duplicates that are made elsewhere.
Outside,
And so everything that I'm using, it was like a big research thing and learning and making sure everything that I'm using is made here. And so she really helped kind of start me along that process. But in the age of social media, like you're only a couple of DMs away, a couple Facebook messages
WhatsApp
away.
as well.
all of this. And so I was just like doing a lot of research and trying to get like direct to sources. So like when it came to looking for Bogolan, she had a plug, but I wanted to find someone who was direct in Mali. So I'm like, okay, who do I know who's connected to Mali? What are hashtags that people are using who are posting this, and just weaving around trying to find it. And I found someone who is in Segu, who gets it shipped to Bamako, and they had a route that was coming from Bamako to Accra, so I could, and then it was like, okay, cool, sourcing fabric, check one. Check two was finding places here who were looking to expand, and that was, luckily, like I came to Arama and Threaded Tribes after some trial and error, because there's always going to be error. I know I'm saying this like it was all smooth sailing, but it was definitely
not a smooth ride. You had to go through stuff, and I think that's really important for us to talk about. As much as we want Black people to come home, they need to know that it's not easy, you know, because in the diaspora, we're used to a system, okay, that supposedly works, right? And it's a transition. I definitely think that, you know, when you are coming down, you need to have patience. You need to have those bad things happen to you so you can navigate properly. So what are some of the challenges that you faced setting up the business?
Early on, I was just getting in contact with tailors that I had previously worked with. And one of the things was a lot of them, they did custom one-of-one pieces, taking your specific measurements and making something for you. But this is like one of my pieces, and so this stuff is all made ready to wear. So it's like you have to find someone who is able to make things in large quantities quickly, but also make it so the fit can't be tailored to one body type. It has to be like that. And so when I was like beginning that process, it was just like a lot of people weren't able to, they didn't have the capacity to make a lot of duplicates of things. They didn't have pattern graders to make sure that things were like scaled correctly. So we would go through samples, and I'm like, okay, let's send some samples. Patience is key. So I would say patience is key. And so sometimes stuff would just take forever. Like
to do.
I have waited like some months for some stuff just to find out that it wasn't coming. It wasn't done, basically. Right. And not large quantities of different things. It was like smaller things just to get, you know, just to try and see. And I went through that with a couple of different people.
So how are you managing things now?
So
what have you put in place so that those things don't happen?
So now I got blessed with this guy named Justice Abra. And so he really has a very, very solid team of tailors and seamsters who work with him. And he also works with a pattern grader as well. And so that's kind of how we do it now. It was unfortunate that the pandemic began right around the time when I was like trying to ramp things up and start scaling up more. And so one of the big difficulties was like, okay, Ghana's borders were literally closed for months. And so originally I was supposed to come out here for like 2 months back in March and June and really spend time like getting sizing right. And you know, when you're here, it's different. You try it on, okay, let's bring it in a couple inches at this seam, let's take a little off here, let's see how heavy this fabric is compared to another, all of those things. But it was much slower because it's like, no, let's have a sample of some cheaper cotton fabric or some muslin fabric. Let's see how that fits. Okay, cool. Then send back alterations. Then send something with the actual fabric types that you want to make. And that may be completely different because the cut of a thin cotton is completely different than something thick like this that's actually woven and feels like thick denim versus bogolanfini is like even thicker than this. And so it was just a lot of like figuring out how to cut things right, figuring out what templates to make. And I don't have any fashion experience also. So I've never sewn, I had no tailoring skills, I had no knowledge of types of like lining and cuts and these type of things, pocketing and what types of fabric to use, any of that. And so really it was about connecting with folks who
That-
were here, who already had the knowledge of things.
And
So
experience.
it's like, I talked to like Ade Dehye. He was the one who put me
Oh,
in contact.
Ato, yeah.
Right. So he was super welcoming,
Yeah.
supportive, and he was like, "Oh, I could put you in contact with the person that makes my labels."
Oh, that's
Cool.
nice.
Like, or
Yeah.
just different things like that. And so I think because I was here so long prior and I was able to meet so many people, but also that folks were understanding that, yes, this is a fashion brand, and yes, this is something that, you know, I'm building up as a business, but at the end of the day, it's about economic growth of folks here and across the diaspora and keeping it within that type. And so since they knew that that's the background that I was coming from, and I wasn't trying to outsource anything to other areas, that I was really trying to keep this like 100% Black operated, owned from start to finish, from the weaving of fabrics to the construction of things. They were even more willing and ready to help out, and yeah, just kind of like show me the reins of things.
Fantastic. You mentioned that you had no knowledge of fashion, probably materials that you were using, and what I can say is that for somebody living in Africa, they have the African vision, right? And they just go for it and they work for it. And there's a lot of successful Africans on the continent that a lot of African Americans don't know about, right? But I know that in America, there's the American dream, okay? So how do you balance the two, or break the two, in terms of what you've been able to achieve in Ghana?
That's one of the things I think a lot of folks don't realize, is that for me, this never could have been possible had I not came here, spent time here, and developed everything here. A lot of times people look to the continent and that's what it is really. People don't look to the continent, don't look to places like Ghana to do any means of production, and skip over and go straight to places like China and different areas. But this 100% would not have been possible had I not spent the time here and really learned about all of the possibilities and capabilities that were happening here. And so here, it's like, if you want to go after something, you can find somebody who's doing it, you can get the samples made quickly, and you can just build organically, one step after another after another. In the States, there's so much more, like, you have to know somebody to get into something, or you have to have a minimum order of 500 pieces if you want to make it in a factory or something out there. And then there's a barrier, right? You need a higher access to capital to even begin doing something, when it's like, oh, I just want to try out one thing to see, and it's like, oh no, we don't do that. And so when it comes to industries in general, obviously I'm talking about like fashion for myself, but so many different kinds of industries where it requires making physical, tangible things, people don't realize how much innovation is happening here. And if you really just came and spent some time understanding and learning about it and coming with the open mind, you realize there's such a bridge between this like American dream that we have there and the actual ability to make it happen for a lot of people really does exist here, but it's just a lack of exposure and knowledge of what's going on, and fighting all of those negative stereotypes that a lot of people, like, even when I was showing on my social media stories, like things getting produced and people seeing like the processes of fabric being woven, or seeing the processes of it actually being manufactured into these pieces. This just got finished yesterday.
Wow.
Like, this was one day, they started in the morning, they finished it. Because I didn't bring this much stuff out here because it is more outerwear for the States. A little warmer out here. So it's not necessarily something that I would normally be wearing and coming to Ghana. So I was like, but it can happen quickly, and I just want to encourage like more folks to come in, not just from a mind state of I'm a capitalist that's looking to take away what I can from, like, that's the completely wrong mind state. I think is come in and understand how you can build simultaneously with folks here, how you can stimulate wealth for people here, how you can do job creation, but also how you can build with what's already going on and fit into it. Because we're not doing anything new or reinventing any wheels or things. It's just a matter of like having that synergy and that overlap between folks. And for me, that's what like the return and everything is really coming full circle through. It's about building up with folks here, and I mean,
you mentioned about you have to spend time here. How much time do you actually have to spend here to know whether it's right for you to do business?
I mean, I feel like if you come just for a month initially, but really meet people, really, I don't want to say like network because that sounds a little too, but really like just spend time if you come in with the idea of like, I always wanted to do such and such, before you come, do your research, watch the dentist show. You can find out a whole lot, and that is not like that's not like a shameless plug of like, because I'm on the show. That is sincere. Like, I've watched so many episodes of your show, and that's one of the reasons why I love it so much, because it is really talking about what's really going on and what people really need to know, and dispelling all of those myths that the Western world puts out and that we are forced to consume through the news medias that come on our TVs and our newspapers, all of that. I digress. But
no, you met, I mean, since you've been here, you met Kofi, Uncle, obviously you watched the show, and now you're probably looking at properties in Ghana as well.
Met Chocolate,
you met Chocolate as well on the show. So it's been good, and I'm glad that you followed through, because some people just watch it, but they don't actually follow through and connect with these people. So how important is it to also connect?
I mean, that's like the main step to take. It's like you can have all of the plans in the world. You can tell all of these people about ideas that you have and what you're about to do and all these different things, but you always have to take the first step and just getting it done. And so, and seeing these folks, I'm like, okay, I follow them, and now I'm like getting the understanding and the feel for them. And then when I'm out here, is just like, thankfully for folks like Prince, and what he does with the Bridge Zone. Thankful for folks who are doing work around like the Year of Return and have continued that work, and are just creating a synergy between folks, because then it actually makes it a lot easier to reach out to folks and meet people, because people are actually on both sides. Like, we want to meet coming from both sides, because we know that there is so much that we haven't been allowed to do. You know, there's just so much bridges that we think exist that are like incapable of crossing, but once you take that first step on them, you realize like,
it's not that bad.
And so, I mean, you definitely just have to follow through, but follow through meaning to follow through. You know, don't just blow smoke and talk to somebody and claim you want to do this and want to do that. Just really be serious about what it is that you're doing, and know that it takes time, but stick
you'll
with
get
it.
there. What's the name of the brand?
So the name of the brand is Ade, which is my middle name, Yoruba name meaning royal, and then Dehye, which also is royal and chief. So I was like, okay, me wanted to have some part of my actual name into it, but nobody really knows my middle name is Ade. But then also in that everything is produced here, and like a lot of things are sourced here, wanted to also ensure that there was the name part of it. And
fantastic. So how is it doing in the US?
So currently, really it started off with very like grassroots organic growth. I went hard on content at first. And so when you're reinvesting your own money into things and you're still working other full-time jobs, there's a capacity to what you could do. And that's another point that I wanted to say, is that I didn't like do a seed funding round, or I didn't raise a bunch of capital from outside people who just wanted some return on investment. I wanted everything to be organic and really based and rooted here. So I went at my own pace, reinvesting my own finances at the pace that I was able to do. And I say that to say a lot of people think that you need some huge amount of capital to begin a business, and that you have to have everything in order, you have to have all these funds raised, and then you just go like that. For me, it was about, okay, start off slow. Get samples. Once you get the product that you want, cool. Start diversifying with the different types of textiles that you want to use. And then once you have those, you have to have content. We're in the age of digital consumption, and so you want to make sure that you're getting the word out. And so my first photo shoots that I was doing, I didn't even have enough pieces to stock if the demand that was created. And so I went after demand before supply because I was limited in what supply that I could actually produce. And so basically I say that to say what it began as, it's like, okay, cool, I have a lot of demand, but I want to make sure I take care of my people that have invested into me and have been supporters early. So originally I wasn't even selling online to anybody. I was selling to close friends and folks like that. And so in terms of metrics and tracking and things, it was a bit different. And so then I started getting some customs, specific orders. So right now while I'm out here, I'm making pieces for Andre Iguodala, who was a former NBA Finals MVP, multi-NBA year champion. I'm making stuff for Harrison Barnes, also a former NBA champion. And these are just, professional athletes who saw the brand, saw the story, knew me because they played for the Warriors and being in Oakland, and they just made themselves accessible. And so they bought into the vision. They buy into having things that are actually made in the continent and supporting West African businesses and all of these things. And so it's like that. And so, but business has been going well. I locked my Shopify before I left because I was heading out here, and I was distribution and everything I just been doing on my own. But when I get back, I'm about to pick things up and just start shipping more stuff out.
Fantastic.
Imperial Homes Ghana in Great Britain has carved a niche for itself within the real estate industry as the premier provider of luxury homes in Ghana and England, with a mission to provide safe, good value, modern housing and personalized estate management services to its clients and customers. All our homes meet the Lifetime Home Standard, as well as the highest standards of engineering excellence, safety, environmental sustainability, and cost efficiency. Imperial Homes, a signature of luxury.
Gubert Card welcomes you to the land of gold, Ghana. The Gubert Card is a unique loyalty card which gives you the opportunity to enjoy discounts of up to 40% on goods and services. You enjoy discounts of the best of hotels, amazing restaurants, beauty lounges, spas, health centers, fashion houses, and shopping centers in Ghana. The Gubert card can also be used as a prepaid Visa card with Access Bank, our partners, offering you conveniences on all payment platforms. Applications is safe, secure, and valuable.
Call us or WhatsApp us on 0245 156 705.
Visit www.guberdiaspora.com. Gubert Card, the best discount card in Ghana.
With over 1.2 billion people, Africa is a large continent with a rapid economic growth, full of investment and business opportunities. It hosts numerous opportunities for entrepreneurs, businesses, and individuals. As Africa marches towards a better economic future, how do you become part of it? Who can you safely speak to? Where do you start? Think no further. ODANA connects. We have identified the challenges people face in getting the right people and discovering the right opportunities in Africa. ODANA Connects will be the platform where people and businesses seeking opportunities in Africa meet and connect like never before. ODANA Connect. Join our waitlist for early access this summer at www.odanaconnect.com.
Tell us about the production side of things that you've been doing.
So, I'm balancing a lot of stuff, but so I am a documentary filmmaker. So I did my undergrad at Yale in sociology, as you said, but I actually did my master's at Columbia in documentary film and journalism. Oh. And so from the media side, that's why I had so much to say about Western media and the way that it portrays Africa specifically, but just Western media in general. And so that was one of the reasons why I went to journalism school, because Media is something that
It's powerful.
we consume it all day long.
Every
Like
day.
we are dominated by advertisements, from billboards to advertisements online on the side of any web page you visit, to radio, to TV ads, to ads popping up on social media, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. All of these things are happening, but also the news side is the same thing, right?
Yeah.
News media is keeping you updated on things, but a lot of times when you look at funders of news sites and you look at backers, you understand that they also are promoting an agenda as well, and that's why there are certain divisions between different types of media. And so that was my interest going into media and really getting a better understanding of why my own people are viewed in the way that they are, and figuring out the best ways to change that. A lot of times, you know, we always have aspirations of changing things, but sometimes we have to really engulf ourselves in them before we understand how to go about it. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get into this, I'm gonna understand how it actually works, and then I'm gonna do my best to have an impact on it, whether it be creating your own means of media, how you do, and providing education to folks, and very, very thoughtful questions in all of the interviews that you do, and just the topics that you cover and the people that you're highlighting. Like, this is a form, and that's why I had such an interest in production.
that.
And so right now I'm actually an associate producer for a new film that's talking about the United States national anthem. And so in looking at its history, and just some of the juxtapositions between the origins of it and what was really going on at the time, and coming up into the present day, how we see a lot of protests, especially at sports events, in public arenas around the national anthem, and how it's gotten to this point. And so that's like the big project that I'm working on, but I'm always writing side projects as well. So like, I'm a fellow reporting on policing in Oakland. I'm doing a year-long investigative project about just a lot of issues within policing in Oakland and why that's been the case. That's through a place called Type Investigations. It's called the Ida B. Wells Fellowship, named after Ida B. Wells, one of our very pioneering black female journalists in the United States. And so, needless to say, I'm definitely busy. I'm doing all these things, but it's like,
but you enjoy what you do. I mean, sometimes you don't feel that you're doing so many things because you love what you're doing, so it doesn't feel like it's a burden, you know?
And I can't stress that enough. And I think that's one of the reasons why, like, even when you asked about sociology, it was like, even in school, I didn't want to force into something that I really didn't have a vested interest in. So like, when I'm studying sociology, I can see why it's relevant to my life. I can see how it impacts the environments that I grew up in, that I'm currently in, and it made it better. In media, it's like, if you're focusing on something that, I don't want to speak for you, but I mean, it seems like in every interview you do, you're enjoying yourself because it's topics that you love to cover and all these things. So I can't echo what you said enough. Like, even out here, I've gotten the least amount of sleep that I've gotten in a long time since being out here, but because it's about something that I'm sincerely invested in, that the vision is much bigger than myself, and much more than just this individual brand that I'm starting. It's about, like you said, just bridging these divides that we think we have, but we really don't. It's like, I don't care if I got 2-3 hours of sleep, because I'm feeling fulfilled by what I'm doing, and I know that there's a larger purpose than just myself.
So what's your most proudest achievement out of everything that you've done in your life so far?
I can honestly say, and this is really just as a reflection of how I've been feeling since starting this brand, since starting Ade, this is really it, just because it's something where from a young age, like I said, I was always drawn towards this, but I wasn't really sure of which way I wanted to go. I mean, in the States, because because Black Americans don't really have the firsthand exposure. Like, I didn't come to Ghana and set foot on African soil till I was 20. Till I was 20 years old. And so it would be tough for me to say, like, what would I actually want to do? People always have the dream of, like, returning to where you're from, but you don't know how you want to navigate that until you're there. And so finding a means to do that, and finding a means that isn't exploitive, that isn't, just about, like I said, what you can take, but what you can give, and then it being somewhere where I can really feel like this is like my second home. I really feel like it's like my first home, hopefully sometime soon we'll see about all of that. But I think that really has been the biggest thing, because it's about how you feel when you're doing stuff. It's a lot of, I could say graduating from Yale, I never would have thought I would have went to an Ivy League school, period. I didn't. You can ask my mom, like when we were talking about applications and things, I was just applying to where I was recommended based on scores and things that I got, but I didn't know anybody at Yale. I didn't know anybody at Columbia when I was applying, not a single person. And even though that was very fulfilling, that's not something that, end of the day, it's a means to an ends, and it was just a step along the way. And so where I currently am is what I've been most excited about, what I can't wait to do more of. Can't wait to come back again and again and again until, like I said, I can really be here for those longer stints of times and make that happen. And so, I hadn't really thought about that question ever, but just being in it and understanding how I feel is the best thing I can say.
Fantastic. So your last few words for people who are watching, you've been in that situation before, of thinking of coming to Ghana, setting up a business, to actually doing it. What would your words be to those people?
So just in complete honesty and transparency, I was somebody who school, education, and going along that very, like, if you work hard in school, you can get to this level, this level, this level. That was very much me. I wasn't thinking about starting my own things. I wasn't thinking about businesses. I wasn't thinking about, ways to do things on your own and independently and build up around you. And so I say that to say that was definitely me until I really, found something that I was really interested in that gave me that feeling of like, okay, I'm thinking about this another night before I go to sleep, or when I wake up, this is the first thing that was on my mind again, and following that urge and really building on top of it. And also saying that, like, the right day to start is always now. The power of the internet and really using social media, reaching out to people. I have to say it again, but watching shows like this, there's so much you can learn and educate yourself on. So it's no excuses to think about it. But of course, the other side of it is to really just take that first step. I had no idea about anything in the fashion realm. I was lucky again to have folks like Arama from Threaded Tribes to kind of help guide me in the right direction and starting. And I just had to say, you know what? I've been thinking about this for so long. I have the time to do it. Gonna have to sacrifice for some other areas to make sure I save a little bit of money to actually start doing it. And then now it's just being reinvesting and normally growing. But that's it. I didn't want to make it sound like it was all smooth sailing and like this was just something that came easily. It's an industry I knew nothing about. I just really talked to as many people as I could about it and took that first step and haven't looked back since. So we'll see how it goes and how it continues to expand.
I'll be talking to you in maybe another 2 years' time to see how you're getting on, and hopefully by then you would have pulled a lot more people with you when you're coming to Ghana. So thank you so much for coming on the show. It's a pleasure to have you. I'm really grateful. And to you out there, he said, take that bold step. You have to take that step. And I hope that one of you who's watching me today is going to make that step. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.